What's going on, everybody? This is Boxingwave. Big fight this week. Mike Tyson is going to be fighting Jake Paul. It's going to be on a Netflix pay per view, and I will be covering the fight live. All right. It's Mike Tyson, so I gotta be here to support Mike Tyson. He's the reason why I'm even a fan of boxing. It's all because of Mike Tyson. I've told you guys numerous times old Mike Tyson stories about how my dad used to throw these crazy fight parties at his house, and I was a young kid. I have memories on specific Mike Tyson fights that I remember watching live as a kid when he threw these parties. And it was a moment. If you were there in the 90s, like I started watching him in the 80s, but I was a really, really young kid at that point. But I was there in the 90s when he used to have these huge fight parties and all of these people used to be at the house and we watched the fights, man. You know what I mean? And I became a crazy Mike Tyson fanatic because my dad was a crazy Mike Tyson fanatic. So he liked them, he loved them, I loved them. It is what it is. All right, but he's gonna be fighting Jake Paul. And my views on Jake Paul has always been mixed, right? When he was famous on YouTube making content, I actually didn't know who he was, because I don't follow a lot of people that's really popular on YouTube unless, they're car channels or just like certain things that I'm into. I'm just not I wasn't familiar with him, but when he knocked out Nate Robinson, I pretty much like followed his career because I have a boxing channel and everybody was talking about it and he started fighting all these MMA guys and stuff like that I was familiar with. I was really into the Tyron Woodley fight, the Anderson Silva fight because Anderson Silva is one of my favorite MMA fighters of all time. So I started to pay attention and he kind of worked his way up to fighting Fury, Tommy Fury, who's Tyson Fury's little brother. And, I've covered maybe one or two of his fights on the channel. I haven't done much content on Jake, but my view has always been like for a guy that is making YouTube videos and go from just making YouTube, not being like a career boxer or growing up as a boxer, I think he's pretty good for the fighter that he is. I think he's pretty good. I think he boxes pretty good, not against like real pros, like real like high level pros, but I think for him to be beating, older fighters that he's been beating, I still think it's impressive for a guy that is not really a career boxer, didn't really grow up in the gym. You know what I mean? So do I really like him? No, not really, because it's just certain things he says to me that I'm just like not really a fan of. I know all of these fights are always cherry picks. I get it. I get it. But what I will say is that some of the paydays that some of these fighters receive, like Anderson Silva, who I feel like being the legend that he is, he's probably got a good check fighting Jake Paul. You know what I mean? Like some of these guys got paid really well fighting him. I like what he's done with Amanda Serrano, who's one of the greatest female fighters of all time. And he's been a part of certain good fights. Like he's had some good fighters on his card and he does support a lot of fighters. So I respect him in that sense. Am I a fan of him? Like, do I follow him on social media? No, I don't. You know what I mean? I don't. Again, I didn't know who he or his brother was until after the Nate Robinson fight. But at the end of the day, yeah, a lot of it is weird to me. But overall, like I don't really care. Like I don't really like him, but I don't really hate him neither. Um, but when it comes to this fight here, of course I'm team Mike Tyson. But I think when it comes to, and this is not like a real breakdown. This is just give you my thoughts on this fight. I just hope that Mike is good. Like I know he's crazy. I know he's willing to die in the ring. Um, and I know he's getting paid a lot of money to take this fight. But at the same time, I'm a little concerned about his health because he is 58 years old. I know he fought Roy Jones a couple years back, But Roy Jones was really older at that time too, and I was actually really concerned about both of them in that fight. You know what I mean? Because Mike Tyson is my favorite fighter of all time, and Roy Jones is my second favorite fighter behind him of all time. So I didn't really care for that fight because they're two really, really old guys fighting. But I understand that they have to do what they have to do. They are getting paid, and I want them to make their money. So if they're willing to go in there and do it, get in there and do it. But I am a little bit concerned about Mike and his health. This fight was rescheduled because he had an ulcer flare earlier this year, where he had to pull out of the fight. Okay. So, overall, that's just my thoughts of the fight. I see Mike, I see what he's doing in the gym. I mean, for 58 years old, he's one of the craziest athletes we've ever seen. So guys like him and Floyd and Manny Pacquiao and Roy Jones, when you're that great of an athlete, and you're that athletic and in your prime years, you're still gonna move very well. You're still gonna be quick. You could still be explosive. But like I said, leading to the Roy Jones fight, you know, these clips that we always see are like quick bursts of Mike Tyson being explosive. But if you watch his fights, if you watch his last fights, in his last years of when he was still fighting as a pro, if you watch the Roy Jones fight, you can see like he doesn't have the legs that he used to have. And, once you lean on him and hold him for a certain amount of rounds, he kind of get tired. It doesn't matter how great he looks at 58. Like he's far, far, far past his prime. And it's still Mike. I get it. Like I get when I talk to people about this, because I talk to so many people about this fight, and I also see like some of you know, the legends talk about this fight, and some of like people that I really, really respect. I think it's that we all love Mike the same way, but you have to be honest with yourself and say like, yo, I know Mike is still a killer. Like Mike will just destroy anybody. I get it. But he is 58 years old, and not only physically, he's a changed man. I don't think he has the killer instinct anymore. I used to say this about Pacquiao when he was still fighting, like when he was fighting guys like Chris Algieri and stuff. I don't think I think the last bit of what we saw as Pacquiao just being like a killer was when he fought Marquez that fourth time. Because he was destroying Marquez bad. Like he was doing it bad, worse than any of the three previous fights to that. He was going for the kill, and he was trying to make it clear, like, these four fights, I'm the better of these two. And it didn't happen. It didn't work out that way. But when it comes to Mike, I think he's changed a really long, long time ago, while he was still fighting. I think those couple fights, those few fights he's had after Lennox Lewis, I just don't think he has it anymore. You know what I mean? Danny Williams, when he got stopped in that fight, um, especially in the Kevin McBride fight, which was his last fight, his final fight before retiring. Um, the way he just fell on against the ropes, and just quit in the stool. When he fell down, I remember watching that fight live, and he was just laying there, and I was like yelling at the TV, like, "Yo, what happened? Get up! Like, what? He didn't hit you with anything." And the way he just looked laying there on the ropes, I'll never forget that moment because it was just the lowest point, like, and I don't want to say the lowest because he had some lows. Obviously he did time in prison, losing to Buster Douglas, Wells to Holyfield. Like, I know he had different moments, different downfalls in his life. But that point, seeing him in the ring, just laying there with his legs spread against the ropes, is just, I'll never forget that moment. And as much as I love Mike, I want him to win. I want him to knock this guy out, and I would love to see that and see him win and stuff. But he's far past what he used to be. It doesn't matter if he's still a killer. He's far past it. And even if he's in great shape right now, the best shape that he can physically be at 58, he's still 58. When he lost to Kevin McBride, he was 38. That was 20 years ago. That was 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Um, how much better can you be from that night? You know, and I know Kevin McBride was the size of what like heavyweights, the average heavyweight is now. Like he's a 6'6", 270 plus guy. So I get it. These guys are gonna lean on him and do whatever they have to do to get him tired and then take him out later. But Mike is, fighting Jake Paul, who I'm assuming is gonna use his speed and his movement. Um, I've seen his last couple fights, with Mike Perry and August and all that. And it seemed like he's focused primarily on movement more than anything, just being quick and slippery and staying out of range and stuff. And whenever he's in on the inside, he's more trying to smother you, not really trying to fight on the inside. What I see with Jake Paul is that I think he has solid speed. I think he moves decent. I think for the most part he has a good jab. Like he's good at controlling rage. Like when I say good, I mean at the level of who he's fighting. Okay. I mean, just make that clear. He's not fighting top cruisers. He's fighting a bunch of washed up MMA guys. Let's be real. Mike Perry, Nate Diaz, Woodley. Again, all of these guys, good fighters when in their prime, but they're far past it. And that's part of the reason why Jake is fighting them. Now I'll give him credit. Like he made points. Like who are some of these other fighters fighting in their first 10 fights and they're pro after they become pro? Most fighters are not fighting. No, most boxers are not fighting these 10 guys at this level in their first 10 fights. Most of them not. So I'll give them credit for that. But at the end of the day, these are not boxers. These are not pure boxers. And Tommy Fury is the only pure boxer that he fought. And he's not really that good. He got the fight because of his name, and it was worth the risk there because he has the Fury name. And Fury is one of the most well-known, popular fighters of today. And he lost to that guy. It wasn't a bad loss. It was a close. I believe it was a split decision. I know he knocked down Tommy Fury in the last round, but at the end of the day, these were very carefully selected opponents. They're not really uh, career boxers. None of them are. They're fighters, but not boxers. Um, but what I think he does well, like I think he does have a good overhand right. I think he has a very big overhand right. I think he has a very big uppercut as well. He got some decent angles. Like he can box. Like real shit. He can fight. He can fight. But and he has a good size on him, like he's pretty good. He's a pretty good athlete. He can box. But this is Mike Tyson, and I don't know what version of Mike Tyson he's getting. The last few Mike Tysons that I've seen in a ring looks like someone that Jake Paul can actually beat. Because Tyson, again, explosive at times, very powerful, but it's like everyone beats him the same way. Like hold on, smother him, tire him out, and then just pick him apart. And I think what Jake is going to do here is pop shot a lot, move, not really try to trade. I think the moment he tries to trade with Mike, he gives up the advantage there. You know what I mean? Even though he's not like a heavyweight, he's still pretty big. You know what I mean? Like Mike is not really big compared to him. You know, um, so I think Jake is gonna try to move and be slippery, shoot the jab. Try to land, connect with the overhand right, and look for opportunities for Mike to lean his head down so he can connect with that uppercut and time it. Um, but I also see that like Jake likes to lunge in at times, with his jab and he just overextends a lot. I think that's the biggest issue with Jake is that he overextends and he's to be honest, that was like some of the issues he had from years ago that he still hasn't fully corrected. And I know he has a good team behind him. I don't know BJ Flores is still with him, but I see Jay Leon Love is with him. Like he has a good team of people that's preparing him for this fight. But I don't know if he's gonna correct some of these issues, and Tyson is a type of guy that's gonna counter you with a hook and step in and throw his combinations, and that's all he needs. Once he lands a good shot on you, the combinations go and he kind of blitz you. And that's what could knock Jake Paul out, but this fight is, I think it's supposed to be like 10 2 minute round. I'm sorry, 8 2 minute rounds. 8 2 minute rounds. And I believe they're wearing 14-ounce gloves. Which doesn't matter because Mike can still punch, you know what I mean? And Mike is not also, I always say that on Jake's side, because Mike is not the most durable fighter, I mean? Um, he's pretty much got stopped in all of his losses, for the most part. So yeah. Jake, if Jake is to win either by knockout, and I hope this doesn't happen. Can I just be honest, man? I am I just don't want to see Mike lose. And if he loses, don't let it be by knockout. I feel like I've been devastated enough of Mike Tyson losing, but the last thing I would want him to do is lose to a guy that is just like boxing, just took on boxing for fun, you know what I mean? And he just has the fame to do whatever he wants to do. I don't want him fighting, period, at this age. But I definitely don't want to see him getting knocked out by this guy that wouldn't stand a chance against him anywhere close to his prime. You know what I mean? Um, I don't know how to call the fight because I don't know what Mike we're getting. Mike seems to me like watching all these documentaries, watching the Netflix special on this, watching his face off and interviews. He just looks like he's in a happy place. He looks like he's having fun, when they do these face off and he pushing and he's bouncing around. When I seen the videos of him in Brownsville with, you know, what's this guy's name? Who's the other crazy guy from Bronxville? I always forget names now. Like every time I do a video, I'm like forgetting somebody's name. But I just wish like Mike can get a knockout. That would be great to see. Um, Jake Paul, his plan is all coming together, and he's calling out Canelo, and he's gonna continue calling out Canelo if he wins this. And I'm not asking him to fail. Like I don't care what he does. I really don't. But when it comes to guys like Mike and like Anderson Silva and these legends, I hate to see them take L's like this against guys that's not boxers. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna lie. I don't like it. I don't. And if I had to pick a winner, I would lean towards Jake because I feel like every time he takes one of these fights, their fights are made, they're matched up for him to be the favorite to win because it's his fights. He's paying these fighters a good payday to where they can't really turn it down. And I kind of want it like when it comes to Mike, I would like him to stop this guy. But I think most importantly, I just want Mike, even win or lose, I just want him to be good, health wise. Um, but Mike, I don't see him being like, I don't really think he's entertaining at this point. I saw the Roy Jones fight, like I said, it was like two really old guys just holding on to each other. Um, I don't want to see it. You know what I mean? If I didn't have a boxing channel, I wouldn't really support these kind of fights. You know, um, But yeah, that's how I feel about it. That's my honest thoughts on this fight. Um, I would probably lean on Jake to win. I'm not placing any bets or anything for this fight. But I would probably lean towards Jake to just pick him apart for 8 rounds and play it safe. I think the moment he tries to engage with Mike, like if he's really serious about trying to knock him out, that's where he'll be in trouble. Like I hope Mike wins, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Hope he wins, but I don't know. Mike hasn't looked good in a very, very, very long time. It's been such a long time, and we talk him up based on how we remember him. And even as a big Mike Tyson fan, I'm gonna be honest. The prime days they were very short, and I think some of us forget that sometimes. His prime years were very short, very very short. I mean, even by the 90s, he was already a little bit outside of it, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And then when he came back, it was great to see him stop guys like Selden. Well, that fight was trash because this guy flopped. But, Bruno in a rematch, and, he got some cool knockouts and stuff, and it was a great time. But, oh, man, I'll never forget when he lost to Holyfield, man. I cried. I remember that fight specifically. I'll never forget that night because I don't remember watching a Buster Douglas fight live. But I remember my dad just could not get over that fight. I remember him and the way he reacted to Tyson losing that fight. So I don't remember watching that fight live, but I do remember watching the Holyfield fight live. And my dad had a fight party, and I was so mad because even though I loved Evander Holyfield too, I did not want him to beat Mike Tyson. And when Mike got stopped, I went upstairs and I was crying, and I still had a bunk bed at that time. And I remember going upstairs and crying in my room, crying myself to sleep because Mike Tyson lost. Uh, yeah, I'm a diehard Mike fan, so I want him to win, but he hasn't been the same in so long, man. And I just don't know, man. I think he's just not. I think that he just wants to go in there and have fun. I don't think he really want to hurt this guy. And people bring up whether this fight is fixed and stuff. Is there agreement where Tyson can't like really hurt him? A lot of people thought the Tyrone Woodley knockout was fake or it was planned. There was a signal, and I don't want to get into that because I don't know. I don't know. You know, I don't know. I don't think Tyson's gonna let someone beat him, but I don't think Tyson has the killer instinct to really want to take this guy's head off. I don't know if he wants it. He says it, but he's such a nice guy now. I don't know. I don't see it. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that, man. I'll be here. Um, this is gonna be Friday night, y'all. So just make sure that you don't look for it on Saturday night. This is a Friday night fight. Jake Paul fights are normally not on Saturday nights. I believe John Jones fight is this Saturday on UFC against uh Stiope. Uh yeah. So um yeah, Miocic Stipe. I'm sorry, I said Steve. I don't know what I said before. All right, I'm out of here, man. Y'all have a good one. Also the undercard is the main event to me. So Amanda Serrano against Katie Taylor rematch. I will do a breakdown as well. I'll see you guys Friday night. Peace.